Rewind.
Unbelievable.
We ain't playing. We're going. I like the aggression. Let me drop the green car.
You can go tell all those guys up there they can suck it.
What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing?
You gotta be kidding me.
Half the pack is flying apart.
They're just so nice.
See at the line.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well.
Go. Come in the line.
Hello, come back, caught him.
That was incredible.
Dude, nobody better. Nobody. Hell yeah, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to NWP Live immediately following Daytona 500 pole qualifying. Good to see you all. The results of Daytona 500 single car qualifying are scrolling underneath us as we speak. Who's us, you may be asking? Well, I am Eric. This is my channel. Welcome, welcome. I am joined by the iceberg, the one and only Jarrett Lundberg. Say howdy to the folks at home.
Howdy.
Good. Yes. My name's Woody. Yes.
Howdy.
Danny B, Daniel Baldwin is over here on my left, stage right. Danny, how you feeling tonight?
I'm good. I'm ready to discuss who got the pole.
The poll? Did someone say poll?
Poll?
We're seconds in. We're already talking about the poll. As Bobby Blair mentioned in a couple of super chats right before we went live, now James Small knows how to build a fast super speedway car. Yes. Chase Briscoe is on the pole for the 67th Daytona 500. Raise your hand if you had Chase Briscoe winning the pole. Hey, raise your hand if you had a Toyota winning the pole tonight in single car qualifying. Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. Yes, none of us predicted Toyota to have the kind of night they just had. Not only did Chase Briscoe win the pole, but the two Toyota open cars also qualified into the Daytona 500 on speed. We'll talk about all of that and more. I want to say howdy to everyone watching. We got the chat pulled up here on my side. I know you guys have the chat pulled up as well. It's great to see you all. We're going to have a great night talking, of course, about qualifying. Then we'll get into the Daytona 500 itself. There's some news from across the NASCAR world that we will cover as well. We've also got some fun games that we always like to play every Wednesday night. So it's great to have you with us. Let's start with qualifying, folks. Chase Briscoe is on the pole. Jarrett, where did that come from?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think you brought up in the pre-race pre-stream or whatever. The Toyota didn't either got very few or didn't get any in the top 10 last year.
I don't think they got any in the top 10 last year.
Toyota Gazoo took that really serious.
Yeah, they took that personally. Yeah. So hold on. If we look at the top 10, we have a Toyota, then 4 Fords, which I think everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, Ford swept the front row last year. I mean, Michael McDowell in a Ford won every other pole at super speedways last season. So we have a Toyota, 4 Fords, and then we have a mix of Toyotas and Chevys rounding out the top 10. The best starting best qualifying Chevy, I should say, was 7th. Now, that sets, of course, the lineup for the dual races tomorrow night. The only 2 drivers whose positions are locked in as of now are Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric. I saw a tweet from our friend Gino Aflac Cup Series saying it's basically the 2020 Xfinity Series championship battle here once again. Briscoe versus Cindric on the front row for the Daytona 500. Danny, your reaction to a Toyota leading the field to green Sunday night?
Well, I thought it was interesting to talk about the pre-stream. One of the super chatters put something in there that the 19 car, okay, don't worry about the Bowman Gray because that qualifying is done a whole different way. The 19 car now has gotten the last 3 consecutive pole awards going back to Martinsville and then Phoenix and now the Daytona 500 with 2 different drivers.
That's pretty crazy. My goodness. See, what this says to me, I know it's just a super speedway, but what I've talked about in the last couple of weeks is there are a few drivers that are, I think, feeling pressure to perform right out the gate this year. I think about Kyle Busch, his future's uncertain. Daniel Suarez on a 1-year deal with Trackhouse. James Small is one of the crew chiefs that I believe is not necessarily on the hottest seat yet, but I think there's pressure on James Small to perform. He's been on that 19 car now for a few years. That first year, those first couple of years with Truex, they were a championship contender. I mean, 2021, I always say it, they were a slow pit stop away from winning the championship that year. So But since then, the past couple of years, they've gone winless. 2 of the last 3 years, Martin Truex Jr. and James Small went winless. I think there was clearly some tension there between Small and Truex towards the end of last year. Truex kind of had one foot out the door, already looking at retirement, probably wasn't putting in the work he's usually putting in. And I think that frustrated James Small. Now he's got Chase Briscoe. What'd y'all think of that headline this week that James Small has been pushing Chase Briscoe to lose weight this offseason? Like that's how you know a guy is kind of sweating a little. I need everyone at the top of their game. So James Small tonight, I think, deserves the most credit, setting this car up to win the pole when nobody expected it. That's how you start strong.
I like how earlier when Gluck and Bianchi were doing their deal and they had Briscoe on, and they're like, "Well, how do you feel? Like, you must feel so much better." He's like, "I don't feel any different at all." And you could just tell, like, in his he's like, "I have dry chicken and like nothing seasoned and this and that."
Someone get this man a hamburger stat.
He's like, I hate my life now.
And it's just like, that kid has nerds. I want some. I need sugar. I need something. But I wanted to point out 2 other people really quick because, we talked about like Toyota, and that's obviously a huge thing. You got, Briscoe winning the pole, Denny Hamlin's up there. Ford, we knew was going to be fast. The 2 leading Chevrolets are Austin and Ty Dillon.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
They're building rocket ships in Welcome, North Carolina.
Well, yeah. I mean, they have every. It was another thing we were talking about beforehand. They have every borderline sponsor. Pop is making them run like they're moonshining.
And if Ty Dillon finishes where his car starts, I will get a prediction wrong because I said he would not get a single top 10 this year, and he's already starting on the top 10. So I'm in trouble.
Dude, they're damn good. I was surprised. Like, obviously, it's not indicative of the race itself, but the fact that like. Those are the 2 leaders. And then Kyle Busch up in 13th. Like the single car speeds, at least there. Only one Hendrick car actually made the final round with Kyle Larson. And he's
Alex Bowman, as good as he's been, he didn't even make that final round.
So is it like officially time to say the Hendrick dominance is over?
It was a good
2
run.
years now.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, last year they were still good. If I recall, it was Logano McDowell on the front row in Fords, but then it was Larson third. And I think at least 2 other Hendrick guys were like 4th and 5th or 4th and 6th or something like that. So they were still right there last year. This is the first year where I will say it. Hendrick Motorsports and their affiliates, let's say, dropped the ball. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have it pulled up in front of me where Justin Allgaier wound up qualifying. But if we want to pivot for a moment and talk a little about the open entries, that was the disappointment. That was the shocker of the night. As shocking as it is to see a Toyota on the pole, Justin Allgaier having absolutely no single car speed. I know it's a junior motorsports entry, but we all know Hendrick Motorsports has helped prepare that. I mean, Rick Hendrick is part owner of Junior Motorsports. For that car to be in the 30s in both practice and qualifying, I did not see that coming.
I kind of felt bad for Dale Jr. They had the camera right on him when Allgaier finished his run, and you could just see Dale's face. Like, he just looked disappointed. He was like, I was hoping it'd be better than that.
I feel bad. Again, huge Dale Jr. fan my whole life. My hero growing up. I feel so bad making this comparison, but Fox watching him when that happened was like that scene in The Simpsons where like, look you can see the exact moment his heart breaks. And I felt so bad thinking that, but it's true. Like he got there like super early in the morning, like 6 in the morning to get there. Yeah. He's like a kid waiting for his like favorite store to open up, whatever it might be. And he's like watching him go down and following him everywhere. His sister is trailing behind him because he's walking so fast. He's so excited. And then it's like, he just got a giant lump of coal on Christmas.
It's like, Dale was like waving around that championship flag for Allgaier. You just see him center up the flag, and all of a sudden he's just like, oh, puts the flag down, just looks down.
It's not all doom and gloom. Tomorrow is the dual races, and with both Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. locked in, probably 2 of the most competitive cars that we're trying to make it in, they're not going to push too hard, and it's obviously not going to matter really what they do. And then Helio Castroneves has a locked in spot. He's going to play it safe. He doesn't want to damage his primary car. So, Justin Allgaier is going to be racing against, I don't know who is exactly going to be in his dual race, but he's ultimately competing against BJ McLeod and
don't count him out after last year.
Garage
Yeah.
66 equipment, NY Racing equipment, Beard Motorsports is okay. I don't want to give them their credit. They're okay. But my point is they're not going up against the biggest guns now. The
Beard
big guns
basically
locked in
feels
tonight.
like an extension of RCR to me. That's what they feel like to me.
Yeah, and they're
so.
usually. I was also surprised they didn't have more speed because I forgot that Alfredo qualified in on speed last year. The competition wasn't quite as steep last year as it was this year, but that's another car. Really, just the Chevys. That's what I mean. Chevrolet in general was a little down. To your point earlier, I think Danny, you asked it. I believe Hendrick's dominance at Daytona in Daytona qualifying, seems to be gone, or it's at least on pause for the time being. That's at least how I see it. Want to mention real quick, we got a few super chats. We will get to all of the super chats at the top of the hour, roughly. I guess I don't know when we started. I say top of the hour. We usually start right at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Where's it at? We're on our end. We get at least above me. We're 11 minutes in.
Okay, so we'll get to them by 10:45 Eastern at the latest. I want to give you guys at least as much of a ballpark estimate as I possibly can. Although I will read these two. Hunter Nixon Fishing, Chase Briscoe wins the poll. Me still living in 2024. Man, I'm happy for Stewart Haas Racing. And one more on a similar note from Justin Drake. Great night for Stewart Haas fans. Briscoe, Barry, and Priest all showed up. Got to bring a smile to our faces. I know it did for me. Yes, all three, all with completely different teams, qualified, or I should say, ran in the top 10 tonight. Again, I want to reiterate to people who are new, the only two people who locked up their starting position for Sunday are Briscoe and Cindric. Everybody else, maybe made a statement tonight. We'll have a good start for the dual races, but they haven't clinched a specific starting position in the Daytona 500 just yet. Want to make that clear. But we appreciate you all being here tonight. Anything else that we learned watching qualifying? I guess let's talk briefly about the duels. We'll talk about the main event later on, but let's talk about the duels. We don't know exactly how they're going to be divided up yet. I'm keep trying to refresh Twitter to see if Bob or somebody has put out like a lineup or anything. Oh, here we go. I'm starting to see some come out.
If there's like a picture of it, if you send it to me, I think I can add it in and we can show it on screen if you want.
I'm just seeing people's tweets. I could try to screenshot the tweets, but that's going to take me some work.
I could, yeah. I mean, I saw a few of them. Let's see. Never mind. They're only like tweeting half of the.
Let's see. Well, let me see. Duel 1, it looks like. I'm looking at the open cars. It'll have Truex will be in there, but he's locked in. Duel 1 will have Justin Allgaier, Castroneves, Chandler, and JJ Yaley. And then Duel 2 will have Jimmy Johnson, who's already locked in, of course, LaJoy, Alfredo, and BJ McLeod. Is that everyone? Did I miss?
So there would be what?
Anyone?
3 in each going for their position, right?
There's 5 open cars in Duel 1, but one of those is Castroneves, who's probably going to play it safe and hang out.
Yeah.
And then Duel 2 has 4. So I think if you're the best finisher in your dual race, you lock in for sure. And if Truex or Johnson are the best finisher in their respective dual race, it might then go back to who set the fastest time, the next fastest time in single car qualifying. It's more confusing than it probably needs to be. But point is, Justin Allgaier head-to-head will be up against Truex, Castroneves, Chandler, and Yaley. I think he's got a decent shot. Let me real quick see who else is in Allgaier's duel with him. I'm just looking for Hendrick cars. Chase Elliott is in that race. That's it.
What Team Chevy though is in there? Because the manufacturers are working together so much.
I mean, Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch are in that race, and so is Justin Haley and Carson Hocevar and Michael McDowell. So he will have all the Spire cars, and he'll have 2 RCR cars, and Ty Dillon for that matter, and Allmendinger. So actually, there are a lot of Chevys in that race. Not many Hendrick cars, but there's a lot of Chevys.
I don't think they're going to defect to the 44. And I mean, Castroneves, he could, just because he probably is going to have to learn a little bit for the main race itself. He could probably be a little racy. I mean, that's going to be a decent car.
I think he will at first. I think he'll back out of it before long. No, that's my guess.
It's new though, so I have to ask if I'm mistaken, but isn't it if he makes it though off of either speed or the duel, they will qualify like normal, and so that the team can make money from it then, which is a huge payday. So I mean, Justin Marks is probably like, hey buddy, I mean, we got plenty of money from Pitbull over here, but we could always use more.
That's true. That's true. It's just the risk if you wreck your primary. I don't know what that potentially puts you back, but you're right. The gain of making the show, albeit as an open car and getting that payday, he might race. He might actually race hard. That's a good point. So could be more competition than immediately meets the eye. But
kind of imagine he wants to experience it a little bit to make the most of his whole time. I feel like he's always been kind of like that. Even if his time in SRX, he was out there getting the most out of the equipment.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. I just worry because I feel like, and I don't have any data off the top of my head to back this up, but it feels like the first dual race is always the crazier one. Like that's the one where Clint Boyer does a 360 and lands on his wheels. Like, like that's the kind of the gnarly stuff that goes down in dual race.
The second one, everyone wants to go to bed, so they just take it easy.
Exactly.
It's always one or the other,
So right now, I guess we'll do this real quick. At the end of the show, we'll give our Daytona 500 picks. But I guess right now, we'll start with you, Jared. I'll put you on the spot. Don't know if you've given this any thought yet. Trying to go here in the moment to figure out the rosters and all that. But who races their way in tomorrow night? We've got Johnson and Truex locked in. Who are the next two?
Okay, so yeah, we got two left. All right. Can you name the ones real quick that would still have to race in Duel 2? I know it's LaJoy, Alfredo, McLeod. Is there anybody else that's racing in that one? Because then I can give it off right away.
Duel 2, it's Alfredo, McLeod, LaJoy, and Jimmy.
And Jimmy's in already. All right. For Duel 1, I think that it's probably going to be Allgaier. As much as I think Cash Neves is probably going to race for it, I do think it's going to be Allgaier just because he's the one that actually will need the help from Chevy. And I think that the manufacturers say in all of it, getting as many big storylines too on the Chevy side of it, I think he will. And in turn, then Cash Neves will get the 41st provisional. And then in the second one, I think I'm going to go BJ McLeod. I think this is actually more even than people are giving it credit for. That Beard car is always really good.
Did you say McLeod or Alfredo? Because then you said Beard.
No, I'm saying it's even with them because McLeod's really good. The Beard car is really good.
I see what you mean. Okay,
and he did get in for a reason last year. So
and people seem to forget because he had a very bad year, just boneheaded mistakes. Like Corey LaJoy is still a really good super speedway driver. I think this is the tougher one for me, honestly.
It's
definitely more evenly matched.
Car did not look fast at all in qualifying. I don't know, man.
His teammate Cody Ware was 2 seconds off the pace. I don't know what happened there.
That's one of those things where it's like, and this car's locked in. I'm sorry, Cody.
Yeah.
Danny, who do you think races in tomorrow?
Remind me who are the options again for the first one. I got my second one, but
in the second one, I'm sorry.
I got it. Allgaier,
the
first one. Allgaier, Castroneves, Yaley, and Chandler Smith in the 66.
Yes.
Mike Wallace's replacement.
I think he's actually gonna try, but I think Castroneves will get in over Allgaier.
Ooh. Brutal. Okay. So then did you what's your second pick?
My second one, I like BJ, but I'm gonna go Alfredo on that one.
So I'm kind of gonna split between you two. I agree with Jarrett that I think Allgaier is gonna get it done in the first one. Cash Neves with that provisional to lean on. I think the Chevys will be more apt to work with Allgaier, and I think he's good enough. He'll get to the front or run near the front. And in the second one, though, I'll side with Danny. I think Beard Motorsports usually brings good equipment. Anthony Alfredo has proven in an Xfinity car that he can lead the draft and do well. And that 62 last time we were at Daytona kind of decided the race. It pushed Harrison Burton to the win. So
that's true.
I like that car and I like that driver. I think the 62 and the 40 will race their way in tomorrow night with the 91 falling back to that provisional.
I'll say this, last year was so wild. That was probably the best duels we had seen in 15 years. And that's not hyperbole, just looking at the racing in both of them. But we got kind of a chalk finish in them. I think we're gonna still have the wildness, but I think you're gonna like have it mixed up a little bit. The real interesting part for me with the duels too is because I don't know the procedure because I don't know how many times, if ever, it's happened. Like, what happens if they get like rained out halfway or they get rained out in general? Like, what's the procedure with that? Because there is a good chance throughout the weekend of rain hampering and ruining
Hmm.
things.
Logic would tell me they just fall back on their Wednesday night speeds, but logic is not always the
It's not a
leading
NASCAR
the
thing.
leading path. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. That would be if we have any
Here-
rules experts in the chat, that'd be interesting to
On
know.
that same note of the weather and stuff, if for some reason the ARCA race can't happen for a while, and Castroneves doesn't technically get at that start, how does that play into it? I wonder.
They'll look the
NASCAR
other
probably
way.
goes storyline time.
Yeah, they'll well, I mean, he's
Like,
already
if we're looking at a Monday ARCA race for some reason,
hell is frozen over.
He has to race the 500 to be able to start the ARCA race then.
Yeah, well, he's already going to run the duels tomorrow without any
Wait.
ARCA racing experience. So
that's
Is
the
that
crazy
true?
part of all this.
Real quick in the chat, I'll double check if it's true, but Tony here says the 51 and 66 failed tech.
and I
did
just
hear a
closed
rumor.
Twitter.
I did hear a rumor that the 51 had failed beforehand. I'd already seen it like pop up on the rumor mills left and right. So
Well,
I
it was
don't know
already
what-
slow as crap. What'd they do to that thing?
Yeah, that just sounds like the car was just broke, and it's like, yeah, that's illegal. I don't see. Oh yeah, here we go. They failed. Oh gosh,
Was
You
it
still-
pre-tech?
it looks like they failed before qualifying, so they both just had a crew member ejected. It didn't impact their.
So it wasn't
Timing.
post qualifying.
Yeah, it was pre-qualifying based on what I just read.
Okay.
In real time. That's what makes this stream so fun. Is a lot of the news is coming out in real time, and we're trying to react to it.
Welcome to NWP, where we just check Twitter all stream.
Yeah, well, sometimes what you got to do. So we've all made our dual race picks. I guess we can move on from there because we still have some other things to get to tonight. I know this is a later show. We don't want to keep the fine folks here all night long. Speaking of weather, Jarrett, I do think we have some weather in the area. Let's go to the lightning round first, and then we'll hit our first super chat stage break.
Yeah, it is the lightning round. Let's get into it real quick. There's not too many things here. First off, again, letting everybody know we have the NWP channel that will re-upload every episode on. So if you missed it, you don't know what channel it was on, you can always check that one. And then the community tab will each week tell you where to go to, as well as different things every now and again. But in news, Apple Sports has added NASCAR coverage to their app. So that's a pretty big side to start adding in the NASCAR side. And then NASCAR Classics has made good and bad news this week. Depending on which side of it you're on. They have added now, I believe, the 10 closest finishes in Xfinity history, the races for those. And I think the other night I was watching like 2017 Michigan or something. So that's pretty cool. And I think they should start adding those, especially like go back to the super truck days, stuff like that. On the other end, because they've completely like redesigned the site for it and everything, there are now ads on it.
Got to pay for those overtime finishes somehow.
You know what? As YouTubers, we're literally paid by ads. So I can never complain about that.
I don't know. I complained on Twitter tonight over FS1 not showing two of the open cars because they had to cut to commercial.
I feel like broadcast commercials are different. If you're an online site being paid by ads, that's a little bit different.
I'm just saying I'm a hypocrite. I benefit from it myself,
15
but I hate on it when others
ad
do.
versus like 5 minutes of ads that is interrupting coverage is what's live on TV. It's a little bit different, in my opinion.
Live TV needs skippable ads. That's the next evolution of content.
Back in the day, like I don't see it as much anymore, but you could click on like a 3-minute video or something on YouTube and they'd play you like a 3-hour ad. Like it was usually skippable, but it was like this 3-hour seminar.
They'll show you. It'll be like
or something.
Yeah, if you don't pay too close attention, you'll look down and be like, this is a 35-minute commercial that they just popped up here. I better hit that skip button or I'm done. Like, yeah.
And then last thing here, it was announced PRN will be broadcasting 9 of the truck races this year. Doug Rice let that one slip live the other night, I believe. At least that's what I saw a lot of people reporting.
Which in the past that was an MRN exclusive, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's probably SMI tracks that PRN's already at,
That
and it's
makes
just
sense.
cost cutting for both
I think
of
that
them.
sounds right for the amount of SMI tracks the Truck Series goes to.
Yeah, I'd have to like double check, but I'm pretty sure that's it. And then letting you know about some future stuff real quick. Next week, be on my channel, back at our normal time, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But I think the big one, really quick, before we end off the lightning round to talk about coming up, is the week after that, February 26th. You need to go to Danny's channel. It's very important. Guys, we're hitting our 300th episode.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
Claudia,
really?
get the cookie cake ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whoa. I had no idea. This snuck up on me.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
We were so busy getting the Speedweek stuff and pre-clash stuff put together. And then I was like, oh crap, that's like 2 weeks from now.
300. Do you still have the 200 plaque I got you, Jarrett?
Yep. It's right over my weight set.
This man has
I'll go grab
not
it really
missed a
quick.
single show in almost 300 episodes now. Knock on wood, just a couple more weeks to go. This man, dedicated.
Lightning round. Here, I'm going to go grab that really quick as a show and tell.
While you
While
grab
he's
that,
doing that, I saw one question come out. I just want to say, so when we were talking about the PRN and Doug Rice, Blue Jimmy 48 fan said, "Isn't Doug retired?" Yes, he is from the broadcasting side, but he's still like a key partner of PRN, if I'm not mistaken. So he's still very much involved with them.
he's still a NASCAR fan at the end of the day.
Let me
show it,
I might have
Jarrett.
to put myself as the main one for a moment.
Do it. Oh, I got smaller.
Oh,
Yeah.
crap. The light. It's blinded by the light.
We can read it. I hope they can at least. Perfect attendance for 200 episodes. I'll get you another one at 400. How's that sound? We'll just make it like
I think we can make that work.
consistent increments. Yeah, this shout out to Jarrett here, to the iceberg, for all he does to make this show
I'll tell
what
you
it
what,
is.
man.
If Jarrett makes perfect attendance for 400, considering he's literally about to become a dad, I will be shocked.
That's
I was about to
true.
say, like, basically, like the last 2 episodes in May, heading into June, I'm on baby watch, so it might be one of those like, hey guys, here's somebody else that can run the stream for a bit. I'm gone.
Yeah, like once we get to about 310, 315,
We're
it's
just
gonna be
gonna
touch and
settle-
go for a while.
We're just gonna set up a webcam in Jared's room for him that's got like just like a cardboard cutout, and he's just like,
That doesn't count. I'm gonna be
Don't
like,
worry. Briss told me, she's like, I'll be damned if you sneak out to go live in your car or something. And I'm like, I won't.
wow, she doesn't care about perfect attendance like we do.
Yeah, I feel like she's dealing with something a little heavier in that
I
moment.
kind of
like,
also
hey,
don't
no,
I
perfect
kind of
here.
also don't care either. I'd rather Jarrett be right there for the kid.
Perfect attendance. Like the kid can come on the show. He'll from day one. The kid never misses an NWP.
She'll just be like, oh, hi. The playoffs suck. I'm so proud. My
Right out
kid
the
told me
womb.
this. She's only a month old, but I was so proud. I had a tear. Everyone clapped.
That's so beautiful. Well, on that note, as great as perfect attendance is, our viewers are even greater. We have some super chats. Let's get to our first super chat stage break real quick. I know we're a little ahead of schedule.
I was preemptive on the headlines.
Yeah,
picker.
I went slightly out of order because I know I said we
Okay.
would get to the super chat stage
We-
break
we
later,
are
and then we
ahead-
got there sooner.
We're ahead of schedule, but we're also insanely late. So
Yes, that is true.
Knowing
This
us the
one,
last couple of weeks, we might end at the same time as usual.
this first one comes from Tony Z. This was earlier in the night. He said, I just now tune in and Eric is already over analyzing. I think this is when I was ranting about James Small trying to get the pressure off his back. I don't think I'm over analyzing. I think I'm dead on accurate. James Small under more pressure than any other individual crew chief the start of this season. Chris Gale may be a close second. Randall Burnett third. I'm just riffing now. Fred Dog 81. Now that the Super Bowl is over, yeah, that commercial sucked. He's talking about the NASCAR, the Daytona 500 commercial, or is there a different commercial I don't know about?
There were plenty of bad ones.
Did we
Maybe it's
mention the
probably the
commercial?
NASCAR one.
The NASCAR commercial was bland compared to the very charismatic IndyCar commercials that were spattered throughout the broadcast. I'll give Fox this credit. During the Super Bowl, they played the Daytona 500 ad several times, and they showed Chase Elliott in the crowd, spelled his name right and everything. So I'll give him some credit for that.
Yeah, they had to make up for the bad scoreboard.
Yeah. Glad to know their budget went somewhere. Paulie, thank you for the super chat. Bush will win the 500 this year. I'm delusional. I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy. The numbers suggest he's been really good at the drafting tracks the last couple of years.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration.
He's due. We'll talk about our predictions later on. I think there's a chance Kyle's name will come up a couple of times. Bryce Sizemore, thanks for the 5. What drivers do you want to advance in the duels? Mine would be the 40 and 62. I mean, that's who I predicted. Who do I want to see? Oh, man, I hate to pick favorites. I mean, I do want to see Allgaier make it. I know Junior Nation is huge. This is such an important moment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kelly. So, yes, I guess I would like to see the 40. Other than that, part of me wants to see LaJoy sort of silence some of the haters. Dude's been getting dragged all off season. But part of me loves Anthony Alfredo and wants to see him do it. So, yeah, I still can't believe he admitted that he passed up the 19 truck to race part-time in Cup. Like, that's one of those things you just don't say out loud into a microphone.
If I can add into that, I would personally like to see BJ McLeod make it in, mainly because of the selfish reason we were on his car. So that's forever,
That's the thing is I like BJ a lot. I like Anthony Alfredo a lot. I forget who else is open, but yeah, at least that's what I feel. A few more here. Wolf that turns left. Briscoe Bros were winning 15 races this year. Might be a little bold. That would certainly get the pressure off of James Small's back if y'all win 15 races. That's bold. Tony again says the 51 and 66 failed tech. We mentioned this earlier. That was before qualifying, we believe. So they both had a crew member ejected, but it doesn't impact their standing for the race, at least at this point. SK Balls, thank you for the 2. Hell, Michigan is getting a lot of snow right now. Talking about the weather being a little weird. I know where you guys are at in Tennessee. It's been weird. I don't even want to look at the Daytona weather. It's probably hit and miss. ZNC Reviews. Hey, Eric, when will you be ranking all of the paint schemes? I forgot I did that last year. I don't know if I'm going to do that preseason. I'm kind of running out of time, but at some point this year, especially around Darlington, we'll certainly talk about throwback schemes. A couple more real quick. GN NASCAR fan. I live in Orlando, work at Disney World. That's right. Yeah. Going to the track Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you recommend a hotel room within 35 minutes of Daytona so not back and forth? Might be expensive. So Orlando to Daytona Beach is hour 20. Kind of depends on what part of Orlando you're in. If you're in the northern, if you work at Disney World, you're probably south of Orlando. So it's probably over an hour drive. Up to you. If I was there, I'd probably just drive it. I live an hour away from Texas Motor Speedway, and I just drove it back and forth when they were here last year, and I'll probably do that again this year. So it depends on how comfortable you are driving. Those Florida drivers can be a little sketchy. We'll do 2 more here, and then we'll get to the rest of the super chats towards the end. Another one from Tony says you should have Brake Hard on. I think we've talked about that. He's on our short list of possible guests for this season. Just going to see maybe if we can find schedules that align. And then one more here from Autry Motorsports. Howdy, fellas. How about Briscoe? Doesn't matter. Prosper, Texas native Chris Buescher will win the 500. Gosh, fans are wasting no time making their bold Daytona 500 picks. You guys will have to wait until the end of this show to hear ours. But I like that. Chris Buescher from nearby Prosper, Texas. How about that? That was the first super chat stage break. Really do appreciate all the support from you folks tonight. We will get to the rest of your super chats at the end of the show, but we have a few, and now we're ready for it, Jarrett. We have a few headlines.
Yeah.
I almost timed that perfect. Headlines to get to before we talk Daytona 500. Adam Stern, Sports Business Journal, interviewed NASCAR president Steve Phelps recently, and numerous headlines have come out of that conversation. For one, Steve Phelps indicated that the France family could be open to selling a partial stake in NASCAR for the first time ever. The France family has owned and operated the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing since 1948. They're in their 77th year, the France family and the France family alone. Now, a private equity, an investment firm could buy a stake in the sanctioning body. This is unheard of, kind of radical, still in the early stages. Sounds like they're just floating the idea out there, but still, this is something. In that same interview, and this kind of goes hand in hand, perhaps we can maybe have two separate conversations. Phelps said that he wants to pick up the pace on global expansion, bringing NASCAR international. Fellas, your reaction, I'll start with you, Jarrett. Your reaction to these comments from Steve Phelps.
The selling one is very interesting, especially in the situation NASCAR's in with 2311 in front row.
The timing
Um,
is sus. That's
It's
true.
it's very sus, and part of me kind of thinks it's like, okay, they might be in a little more trouble when it comes to the behind the scenes than a lot of people have let on. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's also why they're trying to pick up on global expansion, try and get a few people who would be very interested in a race or pay a lot of money to get a race. I think where it ties hand in hand is a story we talked about last year with the global expansion. Now, for me personally, I think that Mexico is a great start because of the proximity country-wise to America. Good for the teams for the most part compared to a lot of the other ones cost wise. I mean, we talked about Sao Paulo for the Clash possibly. Would be very difficult. I think Canada would be a great choice. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, NASCAR needs money to the point maybe that they'd be willing to sell part of their ownership, the Francis would. Who'd be willing to pay for expansion and give you a lot of money? And then I remembered that chart with, I believe it was Saudi Arabia, had
Mhm.
NASCAR well on the big board, highlighted with
Mhm.
Formula One and like a bunch of other different racing and entertainment. I
And didn't
really
they
think
want to buy into SRX a few years ago?
they did, and
Good
they're
pull.
talking about different things with that. There's that crazy ass track they're wanting to build, and it's
Immediately
like
where my mind went to was Saudi Arabia.
the blood money is calling.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'd be lying if I said that possibility didn't cross my mind. And that's what turns me off. I'm not opposed to some international expansion. Like you kind of said, Jarrett, Canada and Mexico make a ton of sense. Even Brazil. I don't know about you guys. I look at my YouTube analytics. It's vast majority United States, a handful in Canada, some in the UK, Australia. Brazil's top 5. That's a top 5
Yeah.
market for me. And I'm the whitest guy you could possibly imagine. And we have people from Brazil are interested to know what's going on in the world of NASCAR. Elio Castroneves getting the OEP, I think, was NASCAR's way of extending, I don't want to say an olive branch, that's not the right word, but extending their presence in Brazil, saying, hey, look, Brazil, look what we got. We got Elio Castroneves running Daytona. Come check us out. Buy into what we're selling here. So Brazil, Mexico, Canada, I get it. Makes sense. I'm fine with it. I'm looking forward to it if and when those races happen. Parts of Europe, cool too. Strong racing culture in many parts of Europe that, NASCAR dipped their toe into the European market with Le Mans and Garage 56, I think left quite the lasting impression. I think down the line, there's the opportunity to run a race or two legitimately overseas like that. But yeah, there are some regions, some areas that just don't vibe with the strong, rah, patriotic American culture NASCAR has cultivated over the years. And Saudi Arabia, many parts of the Middle East, I think fit that description. Basically, what I'm saying is that if NASCAR really wants to pick up the pace and go international more quickly, I hope they go to regions where fans are actually asking for them. Like, I hope they follow the fans, like in the case of Brazil, Mexico City. I don't want them to just follow the money. That
Well, I
would
mean,
be short-sighted, in my opinion.
there's a
I,
chat in
I
here
bel-
saying, "What about Germany? Cars were invented there." And can you
Were they?
imagine? Can you imagine? I don't know if they were necessarily, but just that
Maybe they
I'm gonna
were.
trust the chat. But can you imagine filming like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 if they have a new OEM, but like one from each OEM of them ripping on the Autobahn? Like that just writes itself in marketing. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for it. I think, the select events overseas are great, but go where it makes sense from a fan, a content standpoint. Don't just chase the biggest bag because I just, you risk losing the audience that you've carefully crafted over the past several
from
decades.
from a racing spectrum, and maybe this might be more of an off-season thing, anyways. But if we want to take some stuff, on a little international tour, if you will, I think an off-season exhibition 2-week event in maybe a place like Australia would be fun. Australia has good road courses,
Absolutely.
but you know what Australia also has that we've seen these current cars race on? Good selections of dirt track. Dirt track racing is actually surprisingly very big in Australia. And if we want to have a dirt race, a NASCAR dirt race, go have fun in Australia in the wintertime. But get out there because I'm not mistaken. It's actually nice weather in Australia when we're having winter. Is that correct?
It'd be
I
warmer
think
at
so,
least.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well,
So
and Australia has
I'd
such
be
a
up for
deep
that.
well, they have such a deep and like rich racing culture too. Like it's not like Australia is just like, oh, they have a lot of tracks, but 5 people show up to each of them and then they have one big series. It's like they do have a very good big racing culture there. I mean,
Mhm.
I see it in my analytics too. And we were talking analytics, Australia is always up there in the top
Yeah.
5 or 6. And same with like the download audience. Like the download audience, at least on the Spotify side for us, it's like America, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, Australia. Like
Yeah.
those 5 every time. You have the UK will pop up every now and then. Brazil will. I would love that. I'd love a race like in the off
We
season,
have
the
Eric
exhibition.
Elston in the chat. He says he's from Australia, actually, watching us down under.
Welcome.
Sweet.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah, logistically it would be difficult. I don't know. That's a long flight. That's a even longer. I mean, that's a long trip for sure. But yes, what you guys just said about the racing culture being strong there and the NASCAR connections have become deeper. Obviously, we know about Marcus Ambrose, but now with SVG, last couple of years we've seen Will Brown, Brody Kostecki come give NASCAR a try. So there's more and more connections there. That's another market that just makes sense. That's all I'm saying is go where it makes sense. Don't just go where you think you can make the most money in the short term. That concerns me. That's what concerns me about the picking up the pace on international.
You're reminding me what my old math teacher used to say. She had this old kind of corny term or like
You
phrase
calling
she'd
me
say.
corny?
She'd go, when you make sense, you make dollars. And I'm like,
Whoa, that's
that
a
could be
good.
a sense.
I like
And,
that. I don't know
and
if I've
now,
heard
the,
that before.
now the
That's so
U.S. doesn't
simple but
make
so
any
good.
sense anymore.
Pennies.
Corey LaJoy in shambles.
Do we call them double penny stocks now or nickel stocks?
There's no
Sorry, I'm
more
getting in
pennies
the
to
weeds
stack, Corey. Sorry, they stopped making them.
here. Stacking nickels.
Just doesn't roll off the tongue the same way. Well, more headlines to get to. Jarrett, I know you and I kept up a little bit with the new podcast that just dropped called Hauler Talk. It's a NASCAR produced show where a couple of their communication directors, Mike Ford and Amanda Ellis, as well as reporter Nate Ryan, are going to break down big, controversial, notable officiating decisions after every race. In this first episode, they didn't really talk about a particular race. Instead, they had NASCAR Chief Operating Officer Steve O'Donnell on. So we mentioned Steve Phelps. Let's get to the other Steve, O'Donnell. And what jumped out to me, and I'm sure what jumped out to you as well, Jarrett, was O'Donnell's comments about future playoff format changes. Yeah, I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but the comment that I think jumped out to both of us was when he directly mentioned Kyle Larson as sort of an example of we want the Kyle Larsons of the world to want to race in NASCAR through the end of their career. And I thought that was an interesting comment. It speaks to sort of the long-term industry rumblings that Larson, may dip within a few years. Like we're used to guys like Truex or Jimmy or Kenseth or Junior racing to their mid 40s and then retiring. A lot of people think Larson might retire in his mid 30s, late 30s at best. And he's one of the biggest stars we have. This was Steve O'Donnell seeming to me at least to acknowledge that, hey, the way the current championship 4 and format works, it's a little too heavy on the entertainment and it's not quite as legitimate or it's not appealing to the drivers the same way. That to me seemed like an admission that, hey, we need to get the drivers more on board with this format, like Kyle Larson, which means to me they might tip the scale, balance the scale a bit more. It was encouraging, very vague overall, but the tone of his comments were encouraging to me because I think all three of us would like to see at least some playoff format changes before next year.
So I mentioned this in my video, and I feel like I give this guy a shout out every week, Vody. Now I knew about this before, but like I turned it on because I was curious because this off season into this season reminds me so much of 2009, where there needed to be major changes. There were a lot of people disgruntled. Racing was being very criticized, stuff like that. Now there's obvious differences. But in 2009, I believe the Tuesday after the Coke 600, NASCAR held what they called a town hall meeting. They brought in drivers, industry members, they brought in some media, and they basically just had everyone just like say your piece. What do we need to do? And go from there. And it'd been rumbling for a while. It was like a huge thing because it's not very often this happens. And Steve O'Donnell was talking about something similar with the committee. I mean, he even brought up the fact that like they'd talk to prominent fans, which I will just put an olive branch out now. We are all willing to help the sport be better and talk. Just saying.
Just survey our chat and get there.
Yeah.
Get the temperature in the room right here.
And what happened out of that town hall, there were some major changes over time. But the biggest one that happened right away was double file restarts, which we still to this day have. Later on, there were points format changes. About a year and a half later, they added the wild card chase that they had for 3 years that fans seemed to actually really like at the time, as well as other little changes and different stuff like that. For me, I think they're still very early in the process. I know they talked about this like around maybe a month or two from now last year, like March, April. Like I had heard some people had told me that like this is something since the spring of 2024 has been on the table. It's just sort of last year was like a red flag, like we need to address this kind of thing. Because it was kind of mixed signals on like the rotation race for the finale. Like I get the finale is a big thing no matter what format you have. Even the Lafford system, the finale is a big deal to have at your track. But I feel like making such a big deal out of a rotational finale and not wanting it to tip the scale one way or another, like to me, that sends a signal of like we're keeping the championship race kind of thing. And then the other end, then they're talking about like 3 or 5 rounds or of 10 race chase even and stuff like that. So it's like I like that they're talking about it. I'm hoping that both this podcast, because I actually really like the first episode. I hope this podcast and then the Steves, Francis, and all of the rest of them that make the decisions, like I hope they follow through and keep this kind of stuff up during the season when it's not as easy to prepare for stuff in a shorter amount of time and talk about it. Like I like it.
I don't want to just become, quite frankly, just a NASCAR shill kind of production that just pumps out what they want to be said.
Yes.
NASCAR shill mentioned. Hell yeah. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I thought this first episode was good, but like you just said, Jarrett, when things get rougher, because there will be controversial calls this season that have social media completely heated, we'll see how they handle it then. But my thing is, even if it is sort of the PR power hour there, it still gives some insight into what they're thinking. Like everything Steve O'Donnell said today, I felt was carefully crafted. He tiptoed around some of the harder conversations, but we're discussing in great detail some of the finer details that I think do suggest where his head is at, where they're leaning. I mean, for example, you briefly brought it up. He said that more than likely we will rotate championship dates in the near future, which I think a lot of fans will be excited about. Didn't say what track specifically. He did say it needs to be markets that welcome the sport, promote the sport. So that's worth noting. But I thought it was a good episode. And I will give NASCAR this credit. You don't see other major sports sending their representatives out on a regular basis to address head-on controversial officiating decisions. Like the NBA does their last 2 minutes report, but that stuff's like useless. It's a waste of time. They're not answering questions from the media. They're not, it's kind of a waste of everyone's time. The NFL doesn't do this. They don't send, they'll have Fox will have Mike Pereira or whoever it is in the booth, but he doesn't work for the NFL. He's just there to give his opinion.
They shove it under the rug, because they actually do have a thing where they announce like certain ones they got wrong, but the NFL has shoved it so far under the rug that nobody knows about it.
Yeah. MLB has the umpire scorecard, but somehow Angel Hernandez had a job as long as he did. So, I mean,
I knew it was going there. Going there.
There's a few. Okay. Joe West retired too long ago. I've forgotten about Joe West. Anyway, point is, I will give NASCAR credit for attempting to be transparent, whether it's this podcast, whether it's Elton Sawyer stepping in front of reporters every other week. It seems like I will at least give them credit, even if they don't say what you want them to say. At least they're not shying away from the controversy. They are attempting to make a statement to acknowledge it, which I find good.
I find it interesting with the rotation. And I'm probably going to bounce around here because there was so much talked about there. And then what Denny talked about, we can get into. But like with the championship race, the thing that I really liked, and this is something we've stressed for a while, is there needs to be a championship atmosphere in the area.
You
And
did say that, yeah.
Eric, I know you've been at the Phoenix one a few times. We've all been at the Homestead one. I personally didn't see any NASCAR stuff being pushed out at Homestead. Like when
No,
I
not-
went in 2019, there was nothing.
Yeah. So I went in 19, and I guess that was the last finale at Homestead, right? Yeah, we were all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was not a ton of promotion, it felt, at least outside the city. That's where Phoenix, and I know people meme it to some degree, but Phoenix, the city, does a good job with billboards, airport signage and decorations everywhere. That's something that Miami Homestead seemed to not be doing so much of.
It's a perfect time for Phoenix to intercept all the snowbirds from like Minnesota and Wisconsin and all of them that are like coming down for the warm weather. It's like, hey, you're flying here anyway. And there's just NASCAR stuff everywhere. Like I give them credit.
Yeah.
And the other thing that kind of hit me was, well, two things. One, I'm really happy with that. They're like, the industry and drivers are very direct. No super speedway finales. I am on this train. I don't want my prediction to ever come true. I'm kind of like trying to jinx it almost.
Yeah, I don't want a championship decided by which car slides the furthest in a big crash.
Yeah, or who gets towed back first.
Yeah.
Who's paying off which tow driver at that point? Like whose kid likes, Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson or Joey Logano or Bell,
Well, we've only got 3 trucks and there's 4 of y'all. Well,
Oh no.
And I get the comparison he made to football. I'm not crazy about it though, because unless you're playing like on Soldier Field, every field is taken care of. So
that
like
Life Stadium with the evil turf monster.
Yeah, like I think he almost with the weather part kind of alluded to like Darlington or Kansas. Whether it's like we know that it doesn't have to be 80 and sunny for them to come to it. Like they can be in the 50s or the 40s and fans will show up if it's good racing and promoted well. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I sat through like 30-degree weather watching that horrible 550 race at Kansas in 2020. And Darlington, everyone would love to have a Darlington finale and show up as long as it doesn't sacrifice the Southern 500.
That's the tough part is you have the Southern 500 in September usually, and now a month and a half later you have a championship date. That's the tough part about Darlington. But like Charlotte, we've all talked about, could be on the table if they move it back to the traditional 1.5 mile layout, just make it 400 miles or something. So it's still different, very different from the 600. Kansas, absolutely. I think everyone with this new car is on the Kansas hype train. So
oh yeah,
that would be great. Las Vegas, it's close to when the F1 date is. And so when we talk again about the city embracing the event, it might fall, unfortunately, in the shadow of Formula One. So that one might be tricky. I still wish if they ever somehow, some way turn Fontana into a short track, I think that would make for a good finale. But yes, it's worth reiterating what you said. O'Donnell clarified that, hey, super speedways and even said road courses, not going to be the finale, and he not
they
playing
did
those.
say they're open to road courses, though. It had to be the right one, which
he made it sound like that would be far down the line, and there'd have to be some big changes.
A Circuit of the Americas could possibly work, but
San Diego street race, or like if they did an LA street, right? So it would. I think it would have to be something like an LA. I think it would have to be something like an LA street race, or like they got it in like Manhattan. Like that's the only way I think that it would have to be something that like everyone in the country is like, holy hell, NASCAR's there. Like Chicago is now.
I think regardless, like these cities should be proud to host these big events. Like when the Music City Grand Prix wasn't at Nashville Super Speedway and it was actually in downtown, Nashville itself would do so much. You'd see stuff all over for weeks that the race was coming there. A Super Bowl, host site there. You're going to see Super Bowl stuff all over. Even the NFL draft when it came to Nashville, I remember seeing stuff all over. Other things that I like, Knoxville, Tennessee, just booked their third Bassmasters Classic, which is a championship of that, and they are proud of that event. It brings in so many visitors. They should be proud to advertise that all over the place because they know the result it's going to bring in for their economy.
Well,
Yeah.
and Nashville as well. Like when they come to the super speedway, like every time, no matter which way I drive to the track, there's billboards with NASCAR stuff in the city, out in the country, wherever it might be. Like there's NASCAR stuff in gas stations. I mean, heck, Danny, that one gas station down the road from us still has like that Haley Deegan truck and like
That's
giant
true, yeah.
cardboard cutout, and they have other ones like the Raising Cane's near us had Tony Breidinger. Like they promote racing when it comes around here, and
Yeah.
it's like that. The championship has to do that, like 11-fold on it. Like Miami, if they want it back, like they have to. One, I have a feeling that they and anyone else is going to have to pay NASCAR a lot of money to get it, because it sounds like it's almost going to become more of a bidding war too, on top of choosing a place. But like they have to back that up. It cannot just be a you only notice that there's NASCAR in town when you drive past a NASCAR track in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, nobody's driving past Homestead Miami Speedway. It is like it's the tip of Florida before you get to like the Keys. So,
But I will say, I don't know what needs to be done, whether it's in Phoenix or whatever track they want to take it to. If it's a championship, that should be their only date. I don't like having the championship track on the schedule at another time. It needs to be special when you go there.
yeah,
I agree.
That's a fair argument. We got our fun segments coming up here in just a moment, chat. Don't you worry. Random driver of the week in just a few
we're not
minutes.
having fun at all during this entire show until then.
We call them the fun. It's all the fun segment, but we have to we need to come up with a better name. These are the game segments.
The happy
Welcome to
joy
NWP Game Hour.
This turning into a game show.
Happy.
But before we go, I was going to mention Denny Hamlin suggested that he'd heard a rumor that they might make it the Championship 5 instead of the Championship 4. I assume we can all just kind of shake our heads and go, no, don't do that.
That's a Band-Aid on like I
don't even know
cut across half your neck.
We've already got kind of a Mickey Mouse championship system. Let's not make it even more confusing.
I can just see some armchair executive being like, well, everyone was mad about Martinsville because Bell and Byron tied. Just let them both in. That solves the problem. That's as far as they thought with that one.
Guys, I'm getting word Jeff Gordon has been added to the Championship 5 this season.
In Jeff Gordonary. I will say, not on this part because I don't think it's going to happen, but a lot of fans will be like, oh, that's stupid, or oh, that'll never happen. And it's like, I don't think fans realize in large amount, like whether it's motorsports, stick and ball sports, video games, whatever, like a sanctioning body or a team or anyone, whether it's rules, free agency, like the craziest possibilities will at least be brought up. Like, even if it's just a, like, read the room, make sure we're all on the same page on something for a no or a yes. Like, I would not be surprised if it came up. I wouldn't be surprised if like someone from NBC is like, why don't we add another one? I mean, we've had 5-6 driver championship races in the past, and everyone's like, no.
It's important that we react strongly to it. Like, if we don't like it, say no, because yeah, you're right. Other sports do this. Adam Silver for the NBA floated out the idea of 10-minute quarters, and everyone immediately was like, no, we don't need to do that. Yeah. Rob Manfred for baseball threw out the golden at bat rule, and all the traditionalists were like, no, don't do that. To your point, they're just reading the room, the temperature of the room. We need to make sure the temperature is hot.
The draft last year, the NFL draft last year, like it wasn't real. It was a rumor for a bit, but everyone said, no, this is so stupid. No, why would they do that? And then it was like later announced that I think it was like the Bears, the Vikings, and like 3 or 4 other teams like had serious trade inquiries for Justin Herbert, and like the Chargers might have actually done it. And everyone thought it was crazy. Like, there's no way that would happen. Well, on the NASCAR front, people are like, there's no way they would do the final 5. There's no way that they would keep, they would like add another round or something. I'm like, I guarantee it's all come up.
It's all come up. They're floating it out there. Potentially, it's important as fans to not just ignore it or dismiss it. Like, make sure your voice is clear and what you like or dislike about any of these proposals. Because that's one thing that O'Donnell also brought up on this podcast. And I think he's right. And a lot of fans don't want to hear it. I think NASCAR, many of their executives and important decision makers do generally listen to what the fans are saying. They don't always then come to the same conclusion and agree with everything the fans are saying, but I am convinced that a lot of important people at NASCAR do hear most of the criticism. I am convinced of. Anyway, on that note, now let's get to our happy, fun game show, go lucky, wackadoodle segments. How does that sound? We don't have a fun, fancy graphic for this one, I don't think. But first up is our accountability session. I guess, Jarrett, I'll let you take this away because you have control of the stream.
Do we have to talk about this part?
Oh, is it a bloodbath?
I gave Danny the early showing of like what could happen, because I made multiple graphics of like, hey, if you get one right and one wrong, here's what happens. If you get both wrong, here's what happens.
Let's just say I'm a big Earnhardt fan right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let us know. How did we do on our recent predictions, Jarrett?
All right, let's get on into it. The prediction side of it, I'll have to turn the banner off for a moment. So we'll all make 2 NASCAR Motorsports show related predictions, something to that level. We'll keep track each week in our accountability sessions, and we'll try and keep it relatively concise and kind of to the point. For me, nothing's off the board. I escaped. Eric.
Yes.
Said that Castroneves would qualify in off of speed.
I was buying Chevrolet today, and Chevrolet sold, unfortunately.
And Danny said that Bowman would qualify no worse than 5th, that Allgaier would qualify in off of speed.
I'm glad I wasn't alone. We were both buying the bow ties.
Yeah, drinking too much of that Chevy Kool-Aid there.
Damn. Oh, yeah. Well, the standings, only like 3 weeks into this year, so it has plenty of wiggle room. I have 55.55% still, Eric at 36.36, and Danny at 8.33% early on.
That's literally Dale Jr., Kerry Earnhardt. I am a huge Earnhardt fan right now.
Leaning more towards the Kerry side at the moment.
Oh, no.
Still plenty of time to go. All time, I'm still up at 43.56, Eric at 32.2, and Danny still at 28.69. Nice.
I got some work to do
This
still.
cutting down a 2 picks thing is gonna make me look terrible, I think.
We can always add that third one if you need. We can have a
smart choice
exemption prediction, an OEP rule of our own.
Oh, no, let's not start that. All right. So this week's predictions, we got 2 each. Jarrett, you start us off. What's your first big, bold prediction?
Okay, so I typed this one down already on the keeping it track side of things, just because I had seen that there's a rumor out there, and it's more of a like softly kind of known thing, but not announced yet, that Spire is going to run the 07 car a couple times this year. As like a 4th car out there part-time. So my prediction is this. Raja Caruth will make at least 1 cup start in 2025 in the number 07 Spire Chevrolet. For all those saying that I just slam dunk and lay up and all of that, I'm going to go out there with it.
A lot of details on that one too.
You going to attach any sponsor like Hendrick or Ally to it?
I won't put that on the prediction. So I'll say like off the record, I think it's going to be HendrickCars.com. For this
probably one. But I definitely know both those sponsors are tied to Raja and seem to really like him.
If they put him in Cup with Hendrick and if it's a race where they're also with Larson, please don't run the exact same paint scheme. Like maybe just mirror the colors. What's blue is white. Do that.
Didn't Larson run like a inverted white scheme once, or he had the fire suit?
I don't think he did.
Maybe
he had the fire suit, but he didn't do the car.
Maybe Xfinity did it at some point with like Chase Elliott or
I feel like I've seen a white Hendrick car scheme before.
So.
Am I crazy?
Didn't Byron run one?
Maybe. Chat, help me out. Has the white
probably know better than us?
Has a white Hendrick car scheme ever run? Anyway, either way, I like your prediction, Jared. That's a good one.
Just swap the colors of what's currently there.
Yeah, it'd be great for the spotters, fans. It would be good for diecast collectors.
Yeah.
Oh, I think people are pointing out what you're probably getting confused with. When Larson in 2021 had Nations Guard, they just ran a black and green version of that paint scheme, but they never did anything different.
And yeah, it was they also had a one that was very white, but yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking about. That could be true. Well, my memory's not great. Hopefully my prediction is better. I got my first one. Toyota, who has one super speedway win in the next gen era, one for 18. My prediction is that Toyota will lead as a manufacturer the most laps in the Daytona 500. I really liked what I saw tonight. 3 or 4 of them in the top 10. Whew, control the race. I'm going bold.
40 truck race on Friday night. I believe that Spire is bringing a super team to this one, and at least 3 of their 4 entries will finish in the top 10 in the truck race.
Not bad. Not
like
bad.
it.
Okay. All right. What's your next one, Jarrett?
All right. I'm going to go for the Daytona 500 on this one. I think we will see another 20-plus car wreck. I think we're going to see over half the field in a wreck. They're going to fuel save. They're going to run 3-4 wide, and either at the end of a stage or in like the last 7 laps, someone's going to make a dumbass block or a really bad push right at the front because it's like you're right there for the 500 or for a stage win or any of that, and just collect the entire field. Just kind of like what we saw last year.
I could say that about 2 to go.
Yeah.
A lot of folks on social media were commenting when they saw the Junior Motorsports Cup Series hauler this week. They said, "Oh, that looks snazzy. That doesn't look like a team that's just one and done trying the Daytona 500." I agree. I do think regardless of the outcome tomorrow night, Sunday afternoon, I do think Junior Motorsports will make another Cup Series start this year.
Maybe attach a crisp round number like 8 to that number just for the sake of it.
I'm looking in the chat and it's like I always have the safest predictions. Predicting half the field getting taken out in a wreck, even nowadays, is not common. I looked it up. It's not common.
Our literal intro has the soundbite, "Half the field is coming apart." So maybe it's more common than you
It
think.
might be getting more common, but I'm like, that's not a layup. Like,
no, that's not a layup. That's fine. Well, we're quick to call each other out if we make cupcake predictions.
they would call me out on it. Like, so it'll be more than half the field if there's 41. It'll be 21 cars.
Well, speaking of 21, Austin Hill will lead the most laps of the Xfinity race.
See, that's the biggest layup I've heard so far. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I've felt confident about him in the past, and he blew an engine on lap 3. So
no, that's still that's
right.
true. It's still bold to predict any one person is going to do the most of anything at a Daytona race of all places is still pretty bold. So those are good.
he could be like running 3rd for all I know most of the race and somehow sneak up there and win it. So
yeah,
he's gonna be up there, but you know.
Good predictions, Timmy in the chat. The Big Bully. Yeah, well, is that his new nickname? There's multiple people in the chat calling him the Big Bully, Austin Hill. Is that his nickname?
I noticed in my post-race chats when I do those streams last year, like anytime something with Hill happened, like the entire chat's just going, "The Big Bully, the Big Bully, the Big Bully," and I'm like, "Damn, you guys! I love it. I love the brutalness."
Dang. Okay. Well,
the chat's the mentality is, okay, we think he's a bully, so we're going to bully him and call him big because he's a bigger man. Okay.
They're going to get ahead of it, I guess. Yeah, well, interesting.
Big man, Sponge, a big man.
Just what NASCAR needs is another villain character. Good stuff. Good predictions, y'all. Now it's time for one of my favorite segments of the week, quite honestly. Danny and I locked in a heated battle for random driver of the week. Chat, get ready to play along. Jarrett here has a bunch of clues, and we are going to attempt to guess the random NASCAR driver he is talking about based on the hints he gives us.
Yes, had the chat on your end.
This is the one moment of the show I'm not going to see what you guys are saying, chat. I apologize.
That's all right. I will. I'll see. So last 5. It's kind of like a 3-2 split now in the last 5. All time, I believe it's 15-15, right?
I think so. I think we're tied all time. That's why it's a heated battle.
15-15. Guests have 6. I have stumped y'all on 3 of them. And Danny has 2 of the last 5. Joey Logano at the end of last year and Johnny Beauchamp. And then Eric has Dawson Cram, Buck Baker, and Elton Sawyer. So that was a fun one. I knew that one. Literally, the show went blank, and I saw like it went off at the end of last year, and I saw someone in the chat be like, Elton Sawyer should be the next random driver. And I'm like, I like
Great
that.
minds think alike.
All right. I got 21 clues on this one.
Nice. All right. Let's
So-
rock and roll.
Guys get 3
21 at the
predictions.
hint.
Maybe. You get three chances each at this, and then you're eliminated. All right. This random driver was born in Danville, Virginia. So a Virginia boy. But this random driver, for the most part of their life, has been a North Carolina native.
It really narrows it down, Jarrett.
We got 80%
NASCAR
still.
drivers ever from North Carolina.
So
Jared.
really there are 19 clues, it sounds like.
There's a few that are like, okay, you can get rid of the West Coast boys and the Midwesterners. And
All right, I guess.
this random driver is a Cars Tour winner.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Now that's a hint.
so we've heard more about Cars Tour in recent years, but I don't know how old the series is though.
That's a good point. I think it's only been the Cars Tour for a short period of time. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know what it was before or how far back it really goes.
This random driver has run in Chevys, Fords, Toyotas, and Dodges.
They've been all over.
So they're not super young then. Okay.
This random driver has never been tweeted about by me, only once by Eric and twice by Danny.
Interesting. Has the chat gotten it yet?
A couple have.
Damn. How y'all do that?
This random driver was one of the most vocally upset people last year by NASCAR's call at the Roval Xfinity race, saying that Parker Kligerman got screwed.
Oh, yeah. Shoot.
Very loud on social media.
Who is that in the tire barrier again that they couldn't see?
Oh, God. Was it?
And they drove for all 4 of the recent OEMs, including Dodge.
This random driver's Facebook fan page is sitting just at over 5,000 followers.
They have a Facebook fan page. Okay, so they're definitely not like super young.
This random driver last ran in NASCAR in 2021.
2021.
Are you ready for the numbers? As
Okay,
in
yeah.
which
Car
ones?
numbers?
Yes.
This will be a big help.
This random driver has run these car numbers: 02, 04, 1, 4, 17, 21, 21, 23,
So that was a hint.
25, 29, 31, 44, 46, 47, 52, 87, 92, and 99. So a lot of numbers.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Can you run those for me one more time?
Yeah, no problem. 02, 04, 1, 4, 17, 21, 23, 25, 29, 31, 44, 46, 47, 52, 87, 92, and 99. Anyone got anything?
Has the chat like fully figured it out by now, or are they still kind of all over the place?
They're all over the place still.
Damn. I don't feel quite as bad now.
I'll wait for a second. Nothing?
Mm-mm.
I forgot you put that in there this week.
I knew I was just gonna sneak it in at one random time just to get you guys. All right. This random driver won the 2015 Denny Hamlin Short Track Showdown.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Hmm.
I love the chat. The chat's been asking for a cricket sounder forever, ever since I had the cricket in the garage all those years ago. And it's like, we finally got it.
Claudia's behind, and I just heard distant cricket in front of her living room.
Oh my gosh.
I hope we made you laugh, Claudia. I knew that would be
I'm
great.
probably going to hear a delayed laugh any second now.
This random driver substituted for Stuart Friesen in 2020.
Ooh, I don't remember much about him being out.
Oh. Wait, I do remember him being out. Who drove that truck?
Well, there's the 52. We know that now.
No guesses?
No, I'm stumped. This person was from Virginia, he said originally.
Yes.
Okay.
This random driver finished 23rd in their lone Cup Series start.
Okay, so most of what they did in all those manufacturers must have been in the lower series then.
Because this random driver has only made 8 Xfinity Series starts.
Okay, I guess they were mainly truck guy then, maybe.
Okay, so a truck guy who won a Cars Tour race. Did you say the year the Cars Tour race was won, or you didn't say
No,
that?
that's
did
not.
you?
I'm not gonna have that as a clue. Just
Okay.
I don't wanna give
2015
it away
Denny
too much.
Hamlin Short Track Classic. I forgot that was a thing.
This random driver had a career high of a 13th place finish in Xfinity twice, once at Memphis and again at Phoenix.
Memphis. Yeah, I'm stumped, man. This is a tough one. I don't even really have a guess. I feel like any guess I make is gonna sound stupid.
I'm gonna make a guess of Johnny Sauter.
Nope.
Okay.
So that's one off the
think he-
board for Danny.
Okay, I think is he from Wisconsin? I think he's from the Midwest.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
This
I just saw the
random,
numbers, went back to that. I was like, oh, he won. He
No,
wrote-
that's a
he-
good
he
guess.
wrote
Oh,
it.
you wrote I didn't even write the numbers down. That was smart. I should have done that.
I
yeah,
think
there's
against
no
that.
rule against writing the clues down. Like, there's no rule against it.
No, I dropped my pen, I guess.
This random driver's 13th places in Xfinity were in 2006 and 2007. So to kind of narrow down some years there.
See, that's when I thought maybe it'd be like the early 2000s. Like maybe it was Sauter back then. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Sauter's not a bad guess.
This random driver made every one of their 8 Xfinity starts for Richard Childress Racing.
That's kind of random. Who filled in for Timothy Peters in 2020? Is it Timothy Peters?
Yes.
Okay, because I was thinking Timothy Peters drove that 52 for
You're
Steve
like, who
Friesen.
filled in for Timothy Peters?
Yeah,
I
whoops, I
don't
almost
remember him
won.
racing for RCR. So
Yeah, I don't remember that either, but I remembered him coming back and it was super random. Wow, that's good. I'm glad that was right.
Oh, I've been all over the time span when it comes to drivers this year with Elton Sawyer in the 80s and 90s, Timothy Peters in the 2000s and 2010s, and then Johnny Beauchamp way back in the pioneer days.
Honestly, Danny, when you said Johnny Sauter, it got me thinking who was like a truck staple in the
I've
2000s. And
thought
that's
of
when I
someone
thought of
around that
Timothy
similar
Peters, and I was
time.
like, I've heard his name recently. That's why I was like, I think he's driven the 52. He drove the 52.
I had no
Friesen.
clue really where the Sauters were from.
So that means Eric now has a 16-15 lead at the moment. Next week we'll have, who do I have for next week? Okay, that work.
Did the chat get it? That's a tough one.
Yeah, but a lot of the chat got it. Like,
I wonder
yeah,
if
how it
Timothy
came in.
Peters drove a Dodge Ford in.
I think it was like really early in his career. And his lone cup start, I think, was 2018 Talladega? I didn't write the year because I didn't want to give it away.
Some people, yeah, there's a couple people said Joe Nemechek. There's at one point I thought Joe. Oh yeah, some people said Hermie Sadler. The Virginia thing all made me think of the Sadlers.
And when I saw the 02, I knew the Sadlers had drove that at one point.
Yeah,
There's gonna be one of these years or days. I don't know. Because like I actually, by the way, I looked at and I did the math. Like if we did 42 episodes a year, I have enough random drivers in my queue for like 6 years. So
when
like
was the Cars Tour race that they won?
Oh yeah, let me check that one really quick. Because I know he also worked like as like a mechanic and I think even a crew chief in the Cars Tour at one point too. Where's it at? They'll probably let me know beforehand. Because I don't like writing the years down too much because I noticed that gave it a lot away beforehand. Let's see. Cars Tour. Where's it at? Come on. Really?
the chat is still making
20
Oh no, 2016.
Yes.
Okay,
And now the chat's hitting it right as I
Yeah,
say
you
it.
found it like the same time the chat found it. Good
Great
stuff.
minds. Great minds.
Good stuff.
That was fun.
That was fun. Always a good time. Danny and I continue to go back and forth week after week after week. But now let's talk about the Daytona 500. Appreciate everyone sticking with us. It's been a long night, of course, on track action, live stream, but we appreciate you sticking with us. Let's talk about the Great American Race. We're about to give you our picks. You're going to get a chance to make your pick as well. Let's start with some interesting notes heading into the weekend. It's a quadruple header with ARCA. We have Captain America, the new Captain America, Anthony Mackie, serving as Grand Marshal. And according to reports, the president, POTUS, will be in attendance.
There
So we have
early.
two
Yes.
Captain Americas here at the race.
From experience in 2020.
That's
Get
right.
there early. The lines are insane getting in the later you get there. Like that's normal for any race, but like the added security will really hamper you if you get there like past, I'd say 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, get there a little bit early. I don't expect it to be like 2020. He was still campaigning, so there's a little bit of a speech. I don't think you're going to see all that like back then. But
they had him like
no
as the
politics.
Grand Marshal last year. It sounds like this year he's there just to observe. They're not going to
kind of like what he
construct a
did
show around it.
at Charlotte last year. He was just there.
Yeah, that for me, I don't care what side shows up. I'm fine with anyone who wants to show up and watch a race. Don't make it about politics. Don't force your stuff on millions of people.
Just enjoy the race.
Be there.
Like, it's not a good idea to just give a political platform to figures at races like this.
Like, remember when Mr. Beast was there and everyone like found out like 70 laps in the race? Like, wait a minute, he was there, and it's like, great job marketing him.
Yeah, that you probably should have given him a platform for. To do typical celebrity stuff. But yeah, so the reports were like a week ago. I haven't seen anything since then, but yes, assuming the president is going to be there on Sunday, get there early, because from these guys have told me security is tight.
I'm laughing at Jam Plays Games. The president, he's going to turn into Red Hulk and fight Anthony Mackie.
I wish Harrison Ford was there too. That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
I'm too busy selling Jeeps. I want to kill off all the characters I played in the past.
That's a good impression. That sounds exactly like something he would say. We've talked about this already, but in the dual races tomorrow night, there are still several open cars gunning for the two final spots, really three if Castro Neves needs to fall back on the OEP, but Corey LaJoy, Justin Allgaier, JJ Yaley, Anthony Alfredo, Chandler Smith, BJ McLeod, and then Elio are still gunning for those final two spots. Jimmy and Truex locked in tonight. Rest assured, fans. We'll talk about the truck race to start. It's the Fresh from Florida 250 Friday evening. It's 100 laps. Stage breakdown is 20, 20, and 60. Starts 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on FS1. Radio is MRN, Sirius XM. The weather is looking pretty good by Florida standards. It'll be a cool 73 degrees, mostly cloudy with a 24% chance of rain. Nick Sanchez is the defending February Daytona truck winner. The Xfinity race, Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, is the United Rentals 300. It's 120 laps, 30, 30, 60 are the stage breakdowns. This is on the CW. There's been a lot of controversy because they still don't seem to have a streaming option for the Xfinity series,
they said they won't.
That sucks. That's not good.
Yeah.
A lot of benefits to the CW. That is now turning out to be not one of them. So it's on the CW, also on MRN and Sirius if you're looking for the radio broadcast. Similar weather. It's mid 70s, partly cloudy, also 24% chance of rain last we checked. I will take those odds in Florida. So
I updated this like during our prediction segment.
So this is the most up to date. Okay, good.
This is the most updated ones.
Good stuff.
Good and bad.
A few folks are mentioning the Cletus McFarland, Elio Castroneves, and others are competing in the ARCA race. That is noon Eastern on Fox on Saturday. Worth mentioning. I did not make a note of that here. I should have. But yes, the ARCA race is Saturday at noon. Xfinity race is at 5 Eastern. But then there's the Daytona 500, the 67th Daytona 500, Sunday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox, MRN, Sirius. It's 200 laps as always. 200 plus, let's be honest.
That purse, man, that purse is huge.
You'll get 65, 65, and 70 are the stage breakdowns that'll play that'll make that'll mean something when fuel mileage comes into play. But yes, the purse, has it ever clipped $30 million before? $30 million is the overall purse. The largest chunk of that goes to the winner, but still, just making the show, you are guaranteed a pretty nice payday. That's pretty huge. Weather, not quite as great. Going to be a tiny bit warmer, a little more humid, a 60% chance of rain. I did notice it peaks in the early afternoon. At least this is what I checked a couple hours ago. Peaks in the early afternoon, tails off into the evening. So there's always the chance we end up with another late night Daytona. Hopefully they get the race in on Sunday. William Byron is the defending Daytona 500 winner. Yeah, that's it. Duels are tomorrow night. I probably could have mentioned those as well in case you're wondering. FS1, 7 o'clock Eastern. But Truck, Xfinity, and Cup are the predictions we are going to be making. Jarrett, do you have the season pick points ready?
Yeah, nobody got a bonus point tonight. So Danny's lead is still intact. 2 over Eric, 4 over me. Chat still in last, -6, which means Chat, I believe, gets the
They
first
get to pick
of the night.
first.
Yeah.
I
First
need to
draft pick.
enjoy having 4 options that I have to write down while I can.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do it. Nice little graphic Jarrett's got here. The truck race, Friday night at Daytona. Chat, let us know who's winning it. Give us your pick. We'll try our best to pick out the plurality in the chat here. For a lot of folks saying Michael McDowell.
And
Remember
a lot of McDowell.
Spire's bringing
Who
a
is
little
saying
super
Logano?
team.
He's not in this race.
The Finger.
Is he in the
Finger's getting
booth?
a lot.
I don't know. Yeah, some for Grant Enfinger. I like that pick.
It's actually kind of, I mean, there's a lot of McDowell, but there's a lot of 9s and 71s.
I'm gonna do. Let me maybe potentially do a poll. So
See a little bit of
McDowell,
98 in there as well.
shoot, McDowell, Majeski. We're gonna have to make this quick. McDowell, Majeski, Enfinger, and did you say maybe Caruth?
Seeing the 71 showing up a lot now too.
That's Raja, right? Okay, we'll put Raja in there. Start this poll. We'll let it run for, I don't know, like 10 seconds. So make your bets quickly. Place your predictions. Chat. The fate of the universe rides on this.
This has turned into a Marvel movie now.
Yes. Well, you mentioned Harrison Ford. Anthony Mackie's going to be there this weekend. I'm just getting into character. All right, I'll give it 5, 4. I know we're slightly out of sync, so quick, make your votes. Chat. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The runaway favorite appears to be the supreme leader, Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is the chat's truck series pick. You better hope it doesn't rain because I don't think he's locked into the show. What truck is he in? Is he in the 07?
07.
I don't think he's locked in if for some reason qualifying gets rained out. Worth watching that. Risky play, chat, but I like it. Who's next? Jarrett?
I definitely had him in my top picks. I will say that.
I believe is the 7 still being driven now by Justin Haley.
I think Haley's in the 7 this week. Yes.
And I am going to take Justin Haley as my pick to win. I'm going to stick with Spire. McDowell was my number 1 pick. Like everyone saw that. And they're like, he was going to dominate. Like I saw everyone like, oh my God, he's going to dominate this. I'll go with the 7.
Half of my 4 gone.
Yeah, Haley was my number 1 pick. I was a little wary about McDowell. And I'll go with this guy. I still feel good about this pick. Drop back down to the Craftsman Truck Series, but he's with a winner in Front Row Motorsports. Give me Chandler Smith, the 38 truck.
Thanks for letting me know the number because I needed to write that down.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh,
and
man.
You guys have gave me my number 1 pick, Ben Rhodes.
He was on my list too. That's not a bad pick.
Can't forget that run where he was winning like Daytona like every year.
I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are all very strong truck picks, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good stuff, chat. Next up is the Xfinity Series race. Again, Saturday, 5 o'clock Eastern time on the CW. Shoot, I almost said FS1. On the CW. The Xfinity race. All right, chat. Yep, the 21s are rolling in.
Pretty clear. They're saying the big bully.
The big bully. Austin Hill, yes, certainly, I think is a majority of the chat's pick. Austin Hill, the defending winner of this race. Chat's predicting
that was my number 1 pick, of course.
Where's the love? Where's the love?
Is that your pick, Jarrett? Jesse?
In the 2, right? Or is that changed? He's in the 2.
No, he's in the 2.
Yeah, he's in the 2.
Then give me the love. Give me some love. Yep. It's Jesse Love time.
That was my number 2.
He's been so good too. Like people forget that he's got a year of experience. He's got to win like that. He's going to be formidable.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad pick at all. He was on my list. Wasn't my top three, which means I have two people now I have to kind of pick between. Gosh, do I do it? Am I gonna say what I'm about to say? All right. Haas factory team with Sheldon Creed.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Confirmed for second place, I guess.
Hey, honestly, I take it. I still get some points
What
for
if he
that.
finishes second to Hill again?
I honestly, I would not even be that mad with how bad things can go at Daytona. I'll take second.
Then I will take my number 3 pick. Good number. Very popular at this track. Connor Zilish, number 88, going to victory lane.
Now
I almost
that's
thought you were going to take the 8.
I don't even know who's
Go-
in
go
the
with the
8.
other one.
Sammy?
Hmm.
That's a bold one. All right. Well, good stuff. Let's talk about the Cup race, the Daytona 500. We still don't know. There's going to be a couple more drivers that qualify in, but we're going to do our best to make our win predictions. First, though, who's going to suck, chat? We always start with who's going to have a rough outing at Daytona. Let me know. You guys I think you're picking win picks right now. Here we go. Suck pick Larson. I see one. Okay, that sounds more like it. Suck pick, y'all. No, Ryan Blaney is not a good suck pick. I'm just going to say it. That's not a good suck. Okay, here we go. They're rolling in. Jimmy. Yep. Now it's the suspects. Cody Ware, Ty Dillon. Yep. Now I know the chat's catching up. Okay. Maybe I have tunnel vision, but I feel like I'm seeing mostly Larson's as suck pick, which this isn't for points. So if we just want to give him Larson, I think Larson's been running better at super speedways lately than people would give him credit for. It's just the finishes don't always show for it. Jarrett, suck pick.
Well, this is where I can take the layups. Like I'm gonna go
Sure.
Elio Castroneves.
Oh, okay.
First
All right.
race,
Yeah.
I don't see him being somebody who's gonna fly up there and just run top 10. I think he's gonna be mid pack, and that's just where you get crashed.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I think though about like Travis Pastrana when he came back to run this race a couple years ago, he was like 10th on the last lap and then kind of helped trigger the big crash, but he was like 10th on the last lap. So, yeah, I think these new guys might figure it out pretty quickly. I kind of want to say Jimmy Johnson. I don't know. I know it's all single car runs, but Toyota also did some drafting in practice and yeah, no, I think Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jimmy Johnson's got to be my suck pick, unfortunately.
My suck pick. He ain't making the Daytona 500. You should listen to your sponsor. Instead of Take 5 Oil, take 5 seconds and think about why you should have just took the better ride in Xfinity Series. Corey LaJoy, you ain't making a Daytona 500, bud.
I loved that. That was awesome.
That was
Savage.
brutal. Quite the takedown here. All right. Shoot, I'm used to asking the chat last, but chat, you guys are going first. So how about give me your dark horse pick, chat? Who do you think could surprise us Sunday evening? Zane Smith, I see one of those. Josh Berry, he qualified good. Wood Brothers won here last summer. A lot of Josh Berries, actually. Wow, I'm a little surprised. I'm seeing a lot of
Josh
Ford.
Berry as their underdog.
I think Josh Berry might be their pick, but I am seeing a lot of Ford guys being listed here, which I think makes sense. Yeah, give him Barry. I think it's most likely Barry.
All right. Well, I got something divisible by 21 as my next pick for a dark horse. So, by the way, I should let everybody know since it's returned, and I used to do this all the time in the early years of the show. I got my Athlon magazine preview.
Oh, nice.
There's 3 covers. There's Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott. They only had the Blaney ones at the Walgreens. I saw it at. But they got like the previews for each track and like who's good and all that. It's hard to fit it in screen. And so for Daytona, I went there and I was starting to read a little bit, and I noticed somebody at the top of the board for average finish, top 10 active drivers. I think it's like, minimum a certain amount of starts. And this guy only has 4 starts at Daytona. So take it with a little grain of salt, but he has an 11th place average finish. Do either of you know the driver I might be talking about?
John Hunter Nemechek.
Yes, sir. John Hunter Nemechek is my dark horse pick. Again, divisible by 21, 42. So I think he'll be decent.
I'm gonna go on a big limb on this one. Danny's takedown of Corey LaJoy was remarkable, but I'm gonna throw him a bone. He has, I think, off the top of my head, I want to say he has the 10th best He had the 10th best average finish at super speedways last year of anyone in the Cup Series. He obviously has to race his way in, which is a long shot, but I wouldn't say it's a long shot. I think it's like 50-50. I think he's got a 50-50 shot of racing his way in. And if he does, I think he'll run or finish at least in the top 15 somewhere. So I'll go Corey LaJoie.
I think my Cup underdog pick, if they can get their way in for the duels, I think they could actually be contending in the top 10 towards the end of the race, and that's Anthony Alfredo.
Ooh, fast pasta.
Solid pick. All right. That's right. Chat already went. my internal clock is completely thrown off, chat. So who's going to win? Who is going to win the 67th Daytona 500 Sunday afternoon on Fox? Chat, kick us off. Who's going to win? All right. Let's see. Oh, man. All right. We're seeing some 8s, some 12s.
Blaney.
Yep.
I think we're going to poll this.
We probably will eventually. God, the chat is blazing fast right now. And I think I even have slow mode turned on.
Yeah, you do. I think they're
okay.
I think it's leaning 8, but I do the poll just in case. But I think they're going Kyle Busch.
I think it's leaning Busch, but who else do I add? I'm seeing a lot of Blaney's.
I think it's really just Blaney and Busch.
You might be right. I think it's definitely leaning Busch, but just for giggles and such.
Joey Logano?
I mean, we can throw in Logano, but I don't see that.
No, I was making a giggles joke.
Oh,
sorry. I saw Michael Mertz the other day.
I've seen the 6 a fair amount of times, but
all right. Sorry, it took me a second to get the poll working. Poll is up. Chat, give me your pick. I'm going to close it any second. I'm not even going to give you a warning, so you better get your vote in ASAP because all of a sudden, boom. No, I'm just kidding. Not yet. I could just close the poll. It could be over just like that. You have no idea. Never see it coming. Close. Yeah, I think this is it's a little closer than I thought, but yes,
20
Kyle
years
Busch,
of trying, 20 years of frustration.
Kyle Busch with 63% of the vote is the chat's pick to finally win the Daytona 500. It's a good pick.
It's the most fun storyline.
It's the most fun storyline, and I mentioned Corey LaJoie's average finish. Kyle Busch had the second best average finish on super speedway tracks last year, behind only the defending winner William Byron, which could be an interesting pick for later on. I like it. The mojo is there. Kyle Busch is the chat's pick. Jarrett, I'm sure he was your number one, right? You got to pivot now.
Chat took every one of my number one picks.
Brutal.
Every single one of them.
I mean, Busch was my number one too, to be fair.
Just correct in the chat real quick. Someone said, no, it's 21 years. No, this is his 20th year. He missed 2015. Don't forget that.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's Truex's 21st year.
Oh.
Because he ran the no. Hell
no.
No.
And what are we talking about?
No, the person I'm talking about shares the same manufacturer. I'm still very confident in this guy as my pick. There's a lot of talk last year about this driver, about the fact that he wasn't winning, he wasn't performing as well. Even though he had a better year, I still think he's pretty damn good at these tracks. I am going to go with Bubba Wallace as my pick to win the Daytona 500. I think that will make airwaves everywhere. He's been pretty darn good at these super speedways, especially Daytona in the next gen car.
That's true. He's got a couple career second place finishes in this race. Was he 5th last year? Did I look that up earlier? I think he was 5th last year in this race.
Let me look at my handy dandy.
I know he was in the picture in 2022. He finished 2nd in 2022, right? Chasing Cindric at the line. So that's not a bad pick.
Yeah, now I'm like looking through. I'm like, where? I don't know where everyone's ranked yet because I haven't read through it the way I used to back in the day.
That's okay.
So, I mean, yeah, finished 5th last year. 6th in the fall race or summer race, I should say.
Oh.
He was caught up in the Toyota accident that he was a top car in that one, but caught up in the Talladega Toyota accident.
Oh, yeah.
Top
that's
10
right.
at Talladega, top 5 at Atlanta. Damn, I didn't realize how good he was.
Yeah, actually, the numbers are better than I thought. The recent numbers, at least, are better than I thought. Okay, I like that pick even more. New crew chief. Okay, all right. Danny, I hope I didn't steal your pick. Alex Bowman. Missed it by an inch last year. I think Alex Bowman's going to win the Daytona 500. Get his revenge. Chevrolet. I mentioned earlier that Toyota has 1 super speedway win in 18 next-gen races. Chevy has 11. A lot of those are Hendrick cars. I think Alex Bowman breaks through. Finished last year strong. He's going to start 2025 off strong. Alex Bowman.
I mean, I'd be happy, but he wasn't even in my 4 picks. So
Damn. All right. That makes me less confident.
So Kyle Busch was my number 1 pick. So it's still left my number 2 pick. And I told these guys before we went going, I had 2 picks that I feel like would be happy picks, 2 picks that would make people mad. I'm going with the one that would make people mad. I'm going to say, and I agree with what someone said the last 2 times that this guy has showed up a new crew chief. He's won a Daytona 500. It's going to happen again. Denny Hamlin's going to win his 4th Daytona 500, tying him with Kel Yarbrough with 4 Daytona 500 victories.
He's someone that I don't remember the last time we picked him for a super speedway race.
He hasn't won one in this car, but everything Danny said is still true.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? Because he was still good once the COT and the Gen 6 came around, but you could tell he kind of got nerfed a little bit. Jeff Gordon.
Yep.
Like Jeff Gordon was the same way. Like you're looking at Gordon in like 2005 and you're like, damn. And then Hendrick, was pretty damn good in 06, 07.
07 still, yeah.
Like, and he even won in the COT, but it's like after that, it just sort of like he was still good. Like
he kind of peaked in 07. I mean, he peaked maybe in the 90s, but like 07 was that last year where it was like, oh god, and then he was.
Well, he won 2 in 05 too. He won the 500 and then Talladega Spring Race where he dominated in the Star Wars car.
I don't make the rules here, but when Donald Trump is at a Daytona 500, either Denny Hamlin or Michael Waltrip wins, and we don't have Michael Waltrip, so
are we going to talk about the curse too?
Let's not talk about that part of it.
There hasn't been a good track record with the president at
we don't got to worry about that part of it.
Damn.
Do we not have to?
What I think is cursed is the fact that nobody on this panel, including you, chat, nobody picked a Ford. Even though Ford, if you look at laps led, average running position, Ford dominated the drafting tracks last year. They just didn't get the finishes. Like Talladega in the spring, remember, the 3 of them choked it on the final corner and handed the win to Reddick.
To be fair, I had Joey Logano as one of my 4 options.
They're banking on a bad block from Logano or Keselowski taking out all the Fords.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how they qualified. Penske's going to be tough. Even Josh Berry up in there for sure, but
Todd Gilliland's somebody under the radar too.
Todd Gilliland was really good in this race last year. McDowell's down a Chevy, but last year in a Ford, he was good. Front row, obviously, he's going to be fast. Noah Gragson looked decent in qualifying tonight.
So, who gets 6 poles this year and 5 of the 6 super speedway races wins the pole like McDowell did last year?
Oh man,
it might be Briscoe as fast as he looked.
Shoot, maybe. Yeah.
Fastest
Wow. Yeah.
The internet.
I am shocked that nobody picked a Ford. I feel that we will all be regretting that decision.
They're going to be fast. I just think in the end, it's going to come down to who doesn't make the stupid blocks.
Wait, hold on a second.
Fair enough.
Let me look. Okay, so there were 2 Ford picks total in all 3 races by us, and they were both in the Truck Series.
Truck and Xfinity is a little more like we all agree. RCR is the team to beat in the Xfinity, and they're Chevys. I know we haven't really talked about RF. We didn't talk about RFK too much, but like Buscher's one here.
I will
Reese
say,
looked pretty good today.
I know it's a super speedway, but I think this year is such a make it or break it for Preece. It's either like you show the talent that everyone thinks you have, and I know he has it. You see him in good trucks and cars before, and he can win.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like if he doesn't show out with RFK ascending, and especially if Keselowski and Buescher do really well or perform, win races, like there need to be some serious questions.
Yeah. My thing about Preece is he doesn't even have to be better than Keselowski or Buescher. He just needs to be really close because this is a new, I forget who his crew chief is. It's a new crew chief, right? Who is Preece's crew chief? Chat, help me out. But this is a new car for a new full-time entry for Roush. Like I don't expect him to be as good as, former champion Brad Keselowski or Buescher, who's won a race 3 straight years. Like I expect him to be an inch or two ahead of him, but he can't be far off. Like, what I mean? It can't be, with all due respect, it can't be Bubba Wallace chasing Tyler Reddick, where it's just they're not really in the same stratosphere, unfortunately. Like it needs to be close. Chat.
What's going to be the marker for Preece this year is that outside of Briscoe, who went to Toyota, all the others at SHR went to 3 different Ford teams. You had Preece going to RFK, you had Gregson going to the front row, and you had Josh Berry going to 21. All of those teams can be good. can have good moments. So really, I would, compare him to Brad and Chris, obviously over there at RFK, but compare him to those other two in particular, and really focus on how he's doing compared to them.
I had to Google it myself because the chat was taking too long. Derek Finley is Ryan Preece's crew chief for this season. So again, I think expectations should be somewhat reasonable, but to y'all's point, like he needs to show us something. This is the best car he's been in his full-time Cup Series career. So
Definitely.
on that note, didn't expect to finish the night talking about Ryan Preece. I guess the night's not completely over yet. We do have our final super chat stage break. Let's bang these out real quick. We really appreciate your support tonight. Where are we at here? SW earlier sent a super chat, no message, but we do really appreciate the support. SW. Will Griffin says Chevy is absolutely going to get the 40 car in. Yeah, earlier when we were talking about the dual lineups, it looks like there were a lot of Chevys in that first duel with Justin Allgaier. Not many Hendrick Chevys, but all the Spire cars. I think both RCR cars are in that race, so he'll have some drafting help most likely. Charkzilla. Let's see. I'll be in your home state this weekend for the first time, going to Six Flags Over Texas and Fiesta Texas. Happy race weekend. Thanks for the content. Awesome. Welcome to Texas, Charkzilla. I've been living now in the Dallas area for a little over a year. I've not been to the OG Six Flags yet in Arlington, but Fiesta Texas I've been to many times. Have fun. Hope you have a nice spin on the Superman coaster there for me. Steve-O. What's up, guys? Impressed with the 60 and 21. 19 is cheating or something. No way he was that much faster on both laps. James Small smiling, saying, I told you. What this was James Small saw Cole Pern back in the garage for the first time in a few years and said, shit, I got to step my game up. I got to figure something out. Oh my goodness gracious. The teacher is back in the classroom. And this was him pulling all the levers he could possibly pull. We'll reset on me. Let me get back up here. Steve-O. That's who I just read, but thanks again, Steve-O. Friend Dog 81. How surprised are we that Hendrick didn't have good qualifying as they normally do? And should we be concerned about their chances of winning? I'm not too worried about their chances in the race. Single car speed doesn't typically correlate to drafting speed. But yes, it was a little concerning that they weren't faster tonight, only because it impacted Justin Allgaier's chance of making the show. And that is a big storyline this week because of the JRM Hendrick connection. Daniel here says, I was impressed and disappointed that Corey didn't give us one of his signature single car flips. That's one of those where I started reading it and didn't realize where it was going, but that was
Neither did Corey, apparently.
Oh no, that was kind of funny. That was brutal. From SW again, camera zooms in, Bubba stare, zooms out, zooms in. I missed that. Was there a part where they zoomed in on Bubba tonight? I didn't.
Yes, there was. It was kind of me. I'm going to send it to you.
Oh man. Okay, I got to see that. That's funny. The outside line. Hey Eric, I'll be at the 500 Sunday. Are you going to do a meetup? Not on Sunday, most likely. If you are able to make it Friday or Saturday, check out my Twitter, check out my Instagram, because I will be doing a show with Brennan Poole. I don't remember the times off the top of my head. I want to say 6 o'clock Friday and then like 2:15 Saturday. I don't remember the exact times off the top of my head, but if you are able to make it early in the weekend, I will be around at those times. If you see me on Sunday, say hi. I just can't guarantee you where I'll be.
For any race, I always encourage, go out to the tweet up, check in on that. You can meet a lot of cool NASCAR fans there.
Friday at 6:30, Saturday at 2:15.
Thank you, Jarrett. Yes, 6:30 Friday, not 6. 6:30 before the truck race. Thomas.
Okay, Eric, you can see the Bubba meme now.
Is it in our group chat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to drop everything to look at this because I like a good camera meme. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Why were they that zoomed in on him? Jeez Louise. That's funny. I like that. Okay, good personality, good comedy. Thomas, thanks for the 5. Not sure if it was pointed out, but how about front row being the 2020 Xfinity Championship contenders? Hope Briscoe finishes well in the 500. Yeah, I think we mentioned that at the beginning. It is funny. Cindric and Briscoe in 2020 went crazy. Briscoe had those like 9 wins, and I think Cindric had 4 or 5 and won the title. So that is pretty crazy. Bryce, dislocation Sizemore, thanks for the 10. All right, the Daytona 500 winner, we just talked about this guy, is Ryan Preece. Oh, thanks, Jarrett. Goodness gracious, staring into my soul. Getting ready to set up my NWP fantasy lineup. Last thing, random but invincible episode comes out tonight. I would recommend. All right. Well, good luck in fantasy this year, Bryce. And I
Oh,
guess good luck to
that-
Ryan Priest.
That's right. Set your fantasy lineups, by the way, for NWP fantasy. We'll
Good
put it
reminder.
on a ticker at some point.
West Virginia. Call me insane, but it's been 20 years of trying for Bush, the same winless streak as senior, and Gibbs wins the poll like in 98. Bush is winning the 500. He put a question mark, but I'm saying it more like a statement because I do believe Kyle Busch is the rightful favorite. It's Daytona. A lot can go wrong, a lot can happen, but going into it, I think he deserves to be given that credit. From Cam, as a SBC employee, the short track is happening. Construction just takes forever. I believe this was referring to the Auto Club short track in Fontana. What does SBC stand for? Is that the construction company that's supposedly working on it? I don't know off the top of my head. Someone can fill me in the chat. But
Southern-based Californian?
He calls himself an employee.
Oh,
so I don't
know.
If he said resident, it would have made sense. That was a good
I was like,
that was a good base. Well, San Bernardino County, someone said. Okay, is the track in San Bernardino County? My geography in LA is because it's all Southern California is so widespread. Okay. Oh yeah, he says it's him, San Bernardino County. Okay, well, that's an encouraging sign. Hearing it from someone who's much closer to the situation than we are. I hope it happens one day. From Vogue's NASCAR. That's the comment.
I saw that. That was a great comment.
He's got good videos too.
Up and coming. Daniel here says Danny ain't no prophet. I don't remember what that was in context to.
I don't. Yeah, there's a different Daniel in the Bible who knows more than I do. Apparently,
he's leading our pick points right now. I know it's only been one race. Okay, not the Jared just threw the prediction, the accountability stuff. Oh man, he's just throwing all sorts of memes on me. All right, from BGWX Chasing across the three main series, how many flips are we seeing this weekend? Hope you all enjoy the 500. Hope KB gets it done. I hope we don't see many.
Under at 2.5. There's a apparently the wind during the 500 is supposed to be really, really strong.
Yeah,
we might see a flip.
I could see there's going to be probably a flip this weekend with four. I mean, they're only saying three, but really 4 races if you include ARCA. I could see a flip happening. I'd put the over under at 1.
Gets fast enough for the flips now, but
there's always one in trucks. It seems like.
Yeah, we'll see. That's a good line though. 2.5 over under. I'd probably take the under and say 1 to 2, but we'll see. NASCARson, Truex is in. I have other plans during the dual races. I guess, yeah, if you're busy, your evening you can relax now if you're a Martin Truex Jr. fan, I suppose. Darth Newton, 456. When does it not rain in Florida? That is a question I have found myself asking many times. Darth Newton.
Well, it's funny when I talked to John after we did the Florida 500. He's like, dude, it's great. Daytona's been in a drought lately. It's not going to rain. And then as soon as it happens, the only day that I see like in the next 14 with rain is Daytona 500 Sunday.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I've been using that word a lot tonight. That's just how I feel. Rowdy8 _ diecast. Going to my first Daytona 500. Can't wait. And since I see Rowdy8 in the name, I'm sure you're loving all this Kyle Busch hype. I hope he delivers for you, my friend. Tony Z again. Last 2-time. What am I trying to read here? Last 2-time 11 showed with the new crew chief he won. Last 2 times. I think we referenced this stat earlier. Last 2 times Hamlin had a new crew chief. He won the Daytona 500 with, I guess it would have been Chris Gabehart. And then before that would have maybe been like Mike Wheeler, or did he have Luke Lambert at one point? Who was his crew chief in 2016? Somebody let me know in the chat. Anyway.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I like to throw things out there, see if people can make those pulls. It was Wheeler. Thank you, RJ. Nice. West Virginia says also, if it wasn't mentioned, seems like balance of performance is coming to NASCAR. IMSA Oval Series, here we go. But hey, maybe a new OEM will like it. Yeah, we didn't touch on that too much. But another thing Phelps said when talking to Sports Business Journal this week was that he is still optimistic about a 4th or even 5th manufacturer coming. And Bozy, made a very good thread on Twitter the other night explaining this the new torque sensors that are, I forget the context, if they're being run in races or just practices or tests or what the deal is there. But NASCAR is dabbling with torque sensors, which could potentially open the door in the future to different power units being used. These sensors would just make sure they all produce the same torque, same roughly horsepower, whatever. So we could see Toyota running a traditional V8. Honda could come in with some sort of hybrid, et cetera, et cetera. But as long as all the numbers are within the correct range, the balance of performance, as they say, is still even, we can go race, which is very IMSA-like, but might be more attractive to new OEM. So it's something to keep an eye on.
I found it funny because the big meme has been Steve Phelps is always like, it's coming. The new OEM will be here. And somebody did an edit where it's Steve Phelps in therapy and it says, is the new OEM in the room with you right now?
That's funny. I like that. I have to look at this comment from Bryce Dislocation Sizemore says, I'm sorry, Eric, but Alex Bregman is gone. We have one more super chat here from Tony. Just says Dick Trickle.
Very
Always
nice.
man.
Thank you, Tony.
Dick Trickle references are always welcome. I had to Google this. Alex Bregman, after months, sorry for the non-baseball fans out there, Alex Bregman, after months of limbo, let's say, has signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with Boston, the Red Sox. Wow. I don't know Boston. I know they struggled last year. I don't know where Boston's at. Are they in win now mode? Are they in rebuild mode? $40 million a year? Alex Bregman is not worth that. He is not. That's rough, buddy. I see your shirt, Jarrett. I've moved past it. The Astros were able to get a top third baseman prospect. I think we'll be fine long term. I wish Bregman had taken the 6-year, $156 million that we'd offered. I would have been happy with that because he is a great culture guy, been part of this great Houston Astros run over the past 7 or 8 years. But 40 mil for a guy who hasn't played like an all-star consistently in 5 years. Good luck, Boston. Good luck. He took the short-term deal for a larger average annual value. I get it. Good for him. Scott Boras gets paid as always, as usual. But yeah, I don't know. $40 million a year for a declining third baseman is bold. Miss you. We'll miss you, Alex. We'll miss you in Houston, no doubt. That's enough for the baseball talk. Justin Drake wrapping up the night with one final super chat. So far, the Super Bowl had the best outcome it could. Do you guys think Daytona will be better than in previous years? And keeping with 2025, do you think NASCAR 25 will be better than Heat and Ignition? I think we can answer that second question pretty easily.
Definitely be better than Ignition.
If it's playable at launch, it will be better than Ignition.
It's a success if it plays.
If it's just as good as Heat 4, which I thought it wasn't a great game, but it was decent enough as a starter. That'd be the best. Like if it's like Heat 4 in quality, it will be the best start that a game developer's had. Like so, I'm keeping normal expectations for now. I hope they blow me away with it though, in a good way.
Quiet confidence because respect iRacing and what they've been able to build. I hope this console game is able to deliver. As far as the first part, will Daytona be better than in previous years? I mean, everyone here seems to be interested in the Kyle Busch 20-year storyline. If that comes to fruition, that would be pretty exciting for the sport. Elio Castroneves, IndyCar superstar, if he runs well, that would also bring a lot of eyes to the sport, be a popular pick, I think. So there's the potential for some great storylines. If Junior Motorsports misses the show, that's going to put a damper on things for a large section of the fan base. So we got to get through Thursday night, and then we can all enjoy Sunday afternoon and evening, hopefully. But with that being said, gentlemen, look at us. This is our first sub 2-hour show in years, I swear.
Doesn't feel like it because of how late we started, though.
That's true. I am still exhausted. Thoughts on Carl Edwards' Hall of Fame speech? We didn't mention that, but he did deliver a great speech. I thought the sort of tribute he gave to Joe Gibbs towards the end, talking about how great of a leader and father he is. Like, I'm not a leader or a father, and I was emotional. I was like, damn, that's special. I felt like I could relate to that in a way, how the respect and honor he was showing. Very well done. That's a good heartwarming way to wrap it up. Any final thoughts Jarrett, Danny on Daytona 500 qualifying.
See you next week.
I'm just glad Daytona's finally here. You know, it's everyone's favorite race of the year.
Well, I guess we got one last thing to say.
I was waiting for the crickets. Your cricket might be stuck.
He's tired. He needs to go.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Really do appreciate the support. Enjoy Daytona, and we'll see you on the iceberg in 1 week. Take care, y'all.
Later.
Drivers, start your
3, 2, 1.
green flag.
Started off right, pal.
Right on, come on. Get outside. 3 wide, you're 3 wide.
Unbelievable.
Green playing, we're going. I like the aggression. We probably got the green car.
You can go tell all those guys up there they can suck in.
What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing?
You gotta be kidding me.
Half the pack is flying apart.
They're so nice to
See you at the line.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well.
Jump. Coming lane.
Too low. Come back, caught him.
That was incredible.